Our community proudly. Now, however, based on Trustee Perez's comments, we are all apparently just a cesspool. I am here today on behalf of my colleagues, the more than 600 that work here now, the hundreds that came before, and the many more that will come after, all who gave their blood, sweat, and tears every day, but are just callously disrespected and dismissed. Maybe that's why the college's current leadership team is full of empty positions and a revolving door of interims. Trustee Perez also blasted the local media. It's interesting that the college has been unable to work with the press and the, quote, loud minority within the community to provide requested information. The easiest way to provide information is with honesty and transparency, unless you just don't want to, or unless you prefer to stonewall rather than collaborate. When I first heard you refer to us as a cesspool, I told myself I needed to come here and help you understand all the amazing work that's been done and the numerous awards, honors, and gifts that have recognized that work. But you've provided all that information. Have you not read it? Have you not listened? Are you so intent on convincing yourselves that nothing good happened before you got here that you're willing to simply ignore it? There is one thing I'd like to remind you of. When Mackenzie Scott named College of the Desert one of the high-impact organizations in the entire country, she stated, "We believe that teams with experience on the front lines will know best how to put the money to good use." The Mackenzie Scott Foundation believed in COD and its leadership enough to gift us $18 million to continue to do great work. Yet this board allowed one of your members to call us a cesspool. When you accept a leadership position or elected office, you accept the responsibility of stewardship for the entire institution. There is no drawing of lines between what came before, what you are doing, and what will come in the future. You don't get to pick and choose. You are to be the stewards of it all. You can be a catalyst for change without blowing up everything around you. Effective leaders do not complain about how hard it is or that it's unfair. They don't throw people under the bus or make disparaging remarks about their colleagues or play petty games of musical chairs. Effective leaders respect and learn from the history of the institution and listen to their colleagues so they can create and articulate a vision for the future. Maybe that's why there still isn't an updated vision. I was encouraged to hear Supervisor Perez call for us all to be statesmen and get back to work on behalf of our students and our community. But in a matter of minutes, Trustee Perez threw that out the window. I get it. My kids don't always listen to me either. What I don't get is how people who claim to be supportive of our students can be so unprofessional in the examples you set for them, how the highest leadership of this institution can condone the name-calling and finger-pointing and convenient amnesia. On behalf of all of my cesspool colleagues who have given our professional dedication and commitment to College of the Desert and the success of our students, please just do the same. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Without objection from the board? And then you'll give Armando your information, please. Oh, you need to get a microphone, please. Thank you.
My name is Lynn O'Neill from Thousand Palms, and yesterday afternoon I submitted for the record a statement in support of my request that Mr. Perez be censured. And it's not that I think that he's a bad person. I know him for several years. I think that he's one of the people that is lost in the world of social media hate talk. That somehow what you say in your professional capacity can be tainted by the kind of language that you use online. Now, I've followed all of these statements regarding the bond money, and it's really not about the bond money, my request for censure. It's about language. You could seek a censure for somebody stirring racial animus if they were negotiating a maintenance contract. But it's being raised in context of diverting millions of dollars from other cities to Coachella. Now, I've been a lawyer for over 40 years. And I don't understand, with all of the statements coming from this board and Mr. Perez why there was no disclosure on the financial interests of Mr. Perez's family, the governmental officials out there, the people lined up for contracts. My background is in civil RICO cases, asset tracing. I've searched everybody's properties. Why haven't you? Why haven't you disclosed in context of the lawsuit or your drive to divert money those interests, which will be significantly enhanced? And these are the things that have gotten local government in trouble since the beginning of time. Now, in terms of all of this racial hatred and you hate me because I'm white, you hate me because I'm black, I came out 50 years ago in a conservative, macho sort of Sicilian community, and I've heard every kind of hate talk on the planet. But what I don't understand is the recent embracing of the oppression Olympics. I'm more discriminated against you. No, I'm worse. You hate me because I'm gay. You hate me because I'm white. You hate. This is not about brown or white. This is about green. And you are at a crossroads, board and Mr. Perez. You're at a crossroads to correct the record and set yourselves right to be fully honest in your disclosure about who's going to benefit from this money. Now, I understand you're taking curative actions today to correct the bond money, and that's an underlying substantive issue. It does not cancel out the standalone problem of using hate talk to address your constituents. And in closing, I'll give you a real personal example. I followed a lot of the social media leading up to the election, and I could not believe that Mr. Perez called an esteemed colleague of mine, one of the most respected attorneys in this valley, a racist, anti-education, a failure. And then his colleagues, who all stand to financially benefit if the money goes out to Coachella, they referred to her as a Mexican wannabe. This is a woman with 3 Mexican-American children who are going to read this stuff on the internet. So if you think that this kind of hate talk isn't detrimental, I'm going to suggest to you that you rethink it, because it impacts real-life people. And in terms of this conflict of interest about money, you are using governmental money. You better get into the disclosure mode, because I'm not the only one that has the ability to search financial records. Thanks.
And are there any other individuals wishing to speak? We allowed one, we'll have to allow the next, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Alan Carvalho from Cathedral City. I just wanted to echo Lenny O'Neill's concerns. I was so shocked at Mr. Perez's comments as he was leaving his position of authority and leadership. And I have to tell you that there's a lot of respect for this college. I mean, so many young people are depending on the good nature of what this college represents. And it's so important that we hold dignity and that we really focus in on young people's concerns. And it's important that we follow the rules. And when we do not, we have to call attention to those that are breaking those rules. That's what good leadership is about. So I'm begging you to reconsider all that has come before this, and that do not demonize those that came before. That's not what we're about. We're a representation of how young people should be acting. And this has not been a good way of teaching them that we have to respect each other's differences. Thank you.
For my report. Okay, thank you so much. And has Trustee Perez been able to join us? No?
Not at this time.
Okay, Trustee Kinnamon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I took an oath of office last month to serve on this board as a trustee with the utmost integrity and bring about transparency to the public. As a trustee, I am unable to publicly divulge personnel issues that are of concern to this institution. However, it has been publicly reported in the Desert Sun and a rightful concern of CODA that I pulled 2 counseling hires at the December meeting. Without going into specifics, I pulled those two positions and have asked legal counsel to investigate why the gender and ethnicity makeup of the current counseling staff was allegedly asked and provided during the hiring process, which included two of the applicants. My concern was that a potentially illegal activity could have compromised the hiring process. I am seeking to find out the answer and to avoid putting this institution in further peril. Also, at the last board meeting, Trustee Perez stood here at the dais and delivered public comments that I believe violated Board Policy 2715, the Code of Ethics Standards of Practices for Trustees, by disparaging the work of previous trustees who worked on this board, disparaging the work of former and current administrators, faculty, and staff by describing them as part of a cesspool, accusing constituents in our community and our largest newspaper in the Valley of race lighting, and his continued political rhetoric that disparages my name and reputation, basically calling me a racist, again, from this dais. His comments caused a huge uproar throughout this Valley and were the opposite of how a trustee should conduct him or herself on the dais. Trustee Perez even went against his own father's advice minutes before when he pled with everyone to conduct themselves as statesmen. So I have filed a complaint on behalf of the district constituents and myself, asking Board Chair Bonnie Steffen to place an item on the next board meeting to start a censure process against Trustee Perez for his violations that occurred on this dais and other more recent actions that I believe violated board policies. Not that I need to address Trustee Perez's false allegations of me being a racist, but I want the public to know that throughout my professional history, I've always been about equality and equal opportunity. As a gay man, I understand the ugliness of discrimination and not being able to live openly or advance in a career. My husband, Chris, and I moved to California because of LGBTQ discrimination we faced while living and working in Oklahoma. Back in the early 2000s, California was one of the few states that offered legal protections. When it comes to the issue of race, I've always looked at a person's expertise and character rather than the color of their skin. As Chancellor of Chabot Las Positas Community College District, I hired Chabot College's first Latina president. I also hired the first African-American and lesbian president of Las Positas College, not because of their race or sexual orientation, because of their character and expertise. I also sued that same community college district board of trustees for racially discriminating against a black man who should have been the next president of Chabot College after the first Latina president retired. I could not allow its board behind closed doors to discuss that Chabot College had too many black administrators and Chabot would be better off hiring a less qualified white woman. That caused tremendous stress on me and my family to stand up to their discrimination. 1 week before those trustees had to go under oath for a deposition, the district settled the lawsuit. As a former president of College of the Desert, I hired and supported a diverse workforce and worked to remove barriers that would prevent any student from getting a college education. I believe, as Horseman stated, an education is the greatest equalizer in reaching an American dream. So I worked to make sure COD offered free tuition to every high school graduate in the entire Coachella Valley. I also worked to establish and enhance programs that celebrated the diversity of our students, such as the Veteran Resource Center, Dreamers Resource Center, Black Student Success Center, and the Gender and Sexual Diversity Pride Center. And I'm very proud of those accomplishments. However, I'm not surprised by my fellow trustees' personal and political attacks. What I am surprised about is the level of potentially illegal political activity that was used against me when I ran for this board. I have recently been apprised and presented with copies of emails between former trustee Aurora Wilson, President Martha Garcia, and the former board attorney, which, if true, are potential violations of Board Policy 2716, political activity, and the California Political Reform Act. In particular, on the morning of Wednesday, August 31st, 2022, former trustee Aurora Wilson received an email from her political campaign consultant asking if Wilson had had a chance to look at the new bond video produced for her political campaign, in which candidate Wilson narrated. Trustee and candidate Wilson that afternoon at 12:42 p.m. forwarded the email from her political consultant and campaign video link to President Martha Garcia, asking her to review her political campaign video about COD bonds and to offer advice on its accuracy. Instead of informing the candidate Wilson that she cannot provide advice during district time or using district resources, President Martha Garcia responded back using her district email at 2:53 p.m. that she had reviewed the political campaign video and will call Wilson back later. Aurora Wilson for COD released her bond video on her campaign YouTube channel on September 16, 2022. First, why is President Garcia reviewing political campaign videos on a Wednesday afternoon and using district email and district resources to do so? Why, in her official capacity, is she offering political advice to a trustee running for political office? But that's not all. On Friday, September 2nd, 2022, former trustee and candidate Aurora Wilson sent an email to former COD board attorney and carbon copies President Martha Garcia asking if the district could possibly issue a writ of mandate to the Riverside County's Registrar of Voters. She objected to my official ballot designation as an educator and college trustee. At the time and currently, I proudly and voluntarily serve as the chair of the California Indian Nations College Board of Trustees. It's a nonprofit educational organization. Instead of President Garcia remaining silent or stating this is a campaign issue and that the district cannot be involved, she reminds the board attorney using her district email on Tuesday, September 6th at 6:43 p.m. that he has not responded to the trustee and candidate Wilson's request and asks that they discuss the matter. The board attorney responds via email on Tuesday, September 6th at 8:42 p.m., same day, that he believes this is beyond his scope of work, but he will instruct his election expert at his law firm to review the matter. The law firm must have believed that this was the most pressing political issue of the very late evening because they reviewed the item that night and billed the district, paid for by the taxpayers, for 1.4 hours of legal work on Tuesday, September the 6th, 2022. I'm not sure if the district issued a writ of mandate on this political matter, but I think the public deserves to know. What I do know is that I had to submit evidence of my ballot designation in a very narrow window of time as my ballot designation was being challenged. I ultimately prevailed in that challenge. These emails appear to be a real for which I have copies, and I would like the external forensic auditor to review. I most certainly believe the taxpayers of this district deserve a refund of these legal fees. I also find the conduct so egregious that my personal attorney has suggested that I file a complaint with the State Attorney General's office to look into how this community college district could be entangled in potentially illegal political activity using district resources at the expense of the taxpayers. Thank you, Chair Stephan. I apologize if time has elapsed, but these are very dear concerns of mine and the constituents I represent.